A lot's happened since yesterday!
Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of A Lot's Happened Since Yesterday. My name is Cody Walker.
And I'm Ralph Busso. And right now, today, our guest is none other than Skummy from the national act SkumLove. Skummy, what's going on, buddy?
Hey.
What have you been up to, pal?
Just, like everyone else, sitting at home. But
yeah, no shit, huh? This COVID shit's the real deal, huh? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of actual friends pass away. You know me, I know a lot of people. So for me, I've probably lost a dozen people to it, and I've had probably another 25 that have gotten sick. Mm-hmm. And out of them, maybe half of them really didn't have much symptoms, wasn't bad, but the other half was.
Yeah. So
it you never know with this stuff, but I'm just keeping my family safe, keeping myself safe. Better safe than sorry. It's like wearing condoms on the road.
Okay.
That's actually a really good way to look at it, I guess. Yeah.
So, dude, are you still on EMP at this point?
No, I'm not with them. I got the album back and re-released under my own stuff, just doing my own thing. Labels never worked for me, and I've had a few, and it's just I do better on my own. But they, I do. I'm real happy about what they did do for me. What Tom and Dave did, because at that point I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't playing live or nothing, and that album was like 6 years in the making, technically, because we started it on another label.
Oh, really? Was that the Canadian label, or was that?
The Canadian label.
Okay.
Fortune. Basically, we put out the first album, and then the second album. This is a great story. It's like the guy calls. He goes, "Okay, so I'm going to give you a budget of like $10,000 to do the new album." And I said, "Okay, great." So we started to do it, and he sent like $5,000 to the producer. So we basically recorded almost everything. And then we're like, "Okay, we're about to, finish up. Can you send the other $5,000?" And he was like, "Well, I'm having an issue. My investors, aren't coming through the way I wanted." And I was like, "Well, who are these investors? You need me to call or, do something?" And he's like, "Well, okay. The deal is they were my weed plants." I thought they were like 3 ladies. And he goes, "Well, yeah, the ladies were my plants." And I go,
"Are you serious?"
And I go, "Dude, we're on an international call right now. And you're telling me about growing weed to invest the money into my album?
Holy
you know how
shit.
illegal that is?" And he's like, well, I mean, I go, "Dude, you know what? This is over. Goodbye." And I left. And so the album sat there, and I was like, "Well, I don't know what to do." And my producer at the time, Roman, was like, "Well, I'll hold on to the album. Just let me know when you want to do something." And at that point, I kind of was like, I was going through a divorce. I was going through all kinds of stuff. So I said, "You know what? I'm just going to put it on hold for a while, do other things." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, focus on my kids, focus on my life kind of thing. So put it on hold. And then another label came up a few years ago that was being ran by a guy who he ran a Wax Tracks or something. No, not Wax Tracks. It was labeled through Interscope. I'm trying to think of the label he did. It's like 9 Inch Nails was on it.
Oh, was it a subsidiary of?
Yeah, it was a subsidiary that 9 Inch Nails first signed to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, through Interscope. So the guy he's like, "Well, I got a new label, and I'm only going to release vinyl and CDs and do it old school." And I said, "Great, that sounds awesome," And so we started recording again. And my producer was like, "Man, let's just do it. Let's just finish this album.
Yeah.
I don't care about the money. Let's just finish it." So we started to finish it, and then at the time I was talking to famed producer Bill Matoyer, You know, he did all the metal blade stuff, Slayer and all that. So, and
I know Bill. Yep.
Yeah, and Bill and I were talking, and he's like, he goes, "Do you need help with the album?" And I go, "Well, you know, my original producer is finishing it up, but I need mastering." And he goes, "Well, I do mastering." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I don't tell a lot of people that, but I did DMX's last 2 albums, and I did a bunch of other albums where I mastered." And I went, "Well, fuck DMX right there." Just
yeah, for sure.
The thing that that is missed out on a lot of rock albums and metal albums is the bottom end of stuff, the low end. And I want that low end. I want that pumping low end. So I said, "Well, DMX, that right there solidifies it." He goes, "Yeah, I'll do it for you." So he did it for me, and I thought it came out great. So I sent it over, and at that point I was like, I don't know, I guess I'll release it on my own. And that's when Tom from EMP hit me up and was like, "I'll put out your album." And then I was already talking to Dave because some of his bands were on that label, were on Schecter, and I worked for Schecter Guitars. So I was already talking to him about stuff. So it was just a natural thing. Like, "Hey man, we'll just put out your album. Don't worry about it. You'll do it." They did what they basically do. I didn't want to go out and do full tours without money, without backing. And they weren't going to back tours. They were just like, "You got to go tour to sell the album." I go, "Well, that's great, but I need finances to do that." And so it was kind of a catch-22,
Right.
So I put the band back together. We played a bunch of shows, and it was, it was well received again. And we've just been doing it, continuing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, dude, I know exactly where you're coming from, and that's what you got to do. Sometimes you just got to take the bull by the horns, and do it yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to become, just like you were the lead protagonist in your band, you have to do the same thing when it comes to the business end. Sometimes we were just talking to somebody about that the other day. Who were we talking about that with? Was it Muncie?
It was.
Muncie, I think we were talking to Muncie Ricci, and I think either that and then Tim King from Soil. He said the same
Oh,
thing,
you were actually who you're thinking of is CJ from Metal Motivation. He said, make your life make your life the payback to the people who said you were no good or something like that. I'm terrible with paraphrasing, but it was something to that extent.
But he was basically talking about the business. And Mark Thompson. We talked to Mark Thompson from Mark and Brian.
Yeah.
And that was a really interesting interview. And he said, "You better believe it. If you're not ready to go in there and do it all your own and take the steps that it takes, you have to become a businessman, right?" Speaking of which, you are a perfect example of that. You have been doing this for a very long time, and you started out. You kind of hit the ground running at first, didn't you? I remember you telling me a story about Danzig's label. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, basically, at the time, I worked with, I've been doing the music industry stuff since I was like 16, writing for local magazines, doing local bookings, everything from Rock City News. I did some stuff in Screamer, some stuff in Bam magazine. I was in LA Times at one point, just little things. And I started to book bands like No Effects and and a lot of the local bands like I booked Coal Chamber and Korn and Fear Factory and all the bands before they got big, Deftones, things like that, and Snot, and so my whole thing was just booking bands that I wanted to see play, because I'm a fan. And at that same time, I had a tattoo shop in Venice, and I was like, in between things, and Danzig came up. I met him through the guy who I was booking with, Henry Spiegel, who really got me on my track of doing all the music stuff. And Glenn was like, "Hey, I need someone to work my mail room, and Henry says you're great at that stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I started working for Glenn in his comic book company, Variety.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was like in my early 20s and doing that, and he would, he'd just come in and I'd have to do a bunch of mailing out of the comic books and bullshit. And one day I was had a cassette on and we had like, I don't know, I was listening to Bad Religion or something. And he goes, "Hey, I'm restarting my label Evil Live again to put out the new Danzig, and I want to sign other bands. Do you know any local bands?" I go, "I know tons, you know." And he's like, I go, "Hell, you could sign my band." And I laughed. And I didn't have a band at the time. It was,
You didn't?
it was me, and this was my other member right here.
Oh, what is that? A Tascam? No, oh, it's a Roland. Okay,
it's a Roland Groove Box.
Oh,
So
nice.
I made all my MC303. I made all my first album was all made on here.
Dude,
that's
is
fucking sick,
old
dude.
School, brother. I got to give you the double horns for that shit.
And he goes, "Well, let me hear your stuff." And I had some of the things I did with that, with vocals. I used a Radio Shack karaoke machine, to record everything. And I had like a bass, and I just use the bass to record like guitar tracks and bass tracks, and just did everything old school, no computer, because it was way back then.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I did all that, and I played him some of the tracks, and he goes, "Oh, this stuff's kind of more electronic." I go, "Well, I want to make it more
organic,
more rock."
No.
And he goes, "Well," "I love this." He goes, "I'll sign you." And I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, wow, this is great." He goes, "Yeah, but you got to get back to work." So get back to work. So I got back to work, and I did what I did. And
what year was that, Skummy? I don't want to cut you off, but what year was that? Because I want to. Where was Danzig at in his career at that point?
That was probably late '90s. I think the deal got put together like 97, 98. It was right after Danzig 6, so he was doing it was after Danzig 5. He was doing Danzig 6.
So Mother had already taken off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
This is like Danzig 5, which was the album that like kind of killed his career for a second. I love that album, but people just weren't ready for an industrial Danzig.
Right.
It's like even hard to find that fucking album anymore. So it was through a company called Imagine that this guy worked for Bowie and helped Bowie through his stuff. So Bowie financed it or something. So anyway, we signed to that, and all of a sudden I had to put together a band. And I actually used Danzig's band at the time, which was Joey Castillo, Joey C, Todd Youth. They came in. I had Dave Teague, who was playing in the Dickies and Dead Girls Corp at the time. And he was my roommate. And
oh, really?
We're all trying to do it together. I had another guitar player, but Glenn didn't like the way he looked because he was bald. And I go, "Well, he's got a shaved head. He's my guy." And Robinson, him. He was like, he's been with me since the beginning. So I still worked with him, but we'd go into Mates, this big, expensive studio that like Guns N' Roses. You ever in the Guns N' Roses room?
Holy
crap! It's
crap.
like this big giant room with full PA and full lights to write music,
Shit.
And Glenn's like, "Don't worry, we'll put it on. You can use the money from the label." And I'm like, "I only got like $12,000 from the label. What kind of money you think I got?" And then next door in the small room was like the Cult rehearsing, and Kiss was rehearsing in an even smaller room where they're both of their reunions. And I felt like, what the fuck am I doing in this big room? Either one of them can take the big room. I'm just fucking using it, But Glenn was like, "No, you got to start off big, and I'm going to make you this and that." And
wow.
Ended up fucking canceling itself out, and everything just went downhill. And I stopped talking to Glenn for a while, and it was some crazy shit,
So had you developed the band SkumLove yet at that point? Was that the what you were going for at
That was
point?
basically it. It was like those songs, and so then I took it on my own. I said, "Fuck this!" And I took some of the money that I had from the label, and I bought, some recording gear. I bought Platinum Logic and a bunch of stuff. Just bought a PC with, fully loaded, and started recording on my own, learning how to do it. And at that point, I think Dino from Fear Factory just left Fear Factory. That shit broke up. So then he was like, "I'll come play with you." And he played with me for the first 2 years of SkumLove.
Damn.
How'd you get to know those guys? I'm just curious.
I've known Dino since I was a teenager. He worked at a place called the Rock Shop on Hollywood Boulevard. And I'd go by there looking at albums and stuff. And, he'd be like, "Hey, man, what kind of music you into?" And I'd tell him, "Oh, here, you need to listen to this." Okay, cool. And then here, listen, here's a cassette I got you. And he gave me a cassette of Brujeria, and then he gave me a cassette of Fear Factory. This is my band. And I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And he had another band called the Douche Lords, that it was more kind of like, it almost sounded like Sacred Reich meets SOD. And so I had all these cassettes, and then, he was like, "Yeah, my band Fear Factory is going to start playing." So I went to the shows. I think his 4th show was playing my birthday party, my 18th birthday party. So, I mean, this is back in 92. So, it's way in the beginning. And could have been 90, at this point. So, that's how I met Dino. And then their first interview I did for Rock City News. And I toured with those guys, working for them. I toured with Danzig, working for him. So my whole thing was really behind the scenes more than being in a band. But I kept getting tired of hearing bands that I didn't. I go, okay, I like this part of a band. I like this part of a band. I'd like to get all these elements that I enjoy of these bands, put them in one. And so I figured I'd do my own band. And so, at that point, fast forward back up, I was like, "Fuck this, I'm doing it myself." And I put together about 6-7 songs, and Dino came in and we rehearsed them. And my original guitar player, Robinson, and I had Justin Bennett, who now plays with Skinny Puppy and Thrill Kill Cult. He was playing with Professional Murder Music at the time. Wow. He was like, "I'll play drums for you." And I had Frank Mercurio from, he played with Cypress Hill and SX10, played bass for me. So I had kind of like an all-star band.
Wow.
And our first show was at Dragonfly, and every band on that bill.
Remember the Dragonfly?
It was like their first show. I put all these brand new bands together to open up. And I was nervous. I mean, I've been on stage before, but it was really like old punk rock bands I was in, and, no-name bands. And I walked out there with my own music, my own thing, and it was a sold-out show.
Good God. No pressure.
And, the Dragonfly was like, we've never had this many people since, like, when Tame, because we were playing for Tammy from Faster Pussycat. He had a club called Pretty Ugly, him and JD, and they were like, "You're going to play your first show with us." So I did it, and they're like, "Dude, you brought in more people than we ever did. You're going to be our new house band." And a month later, 2 months later, I played the Whiskey, and it sold out. And those are my first 2 shows ever.
Wow.
So, I mean, I did start head on, Yeah. It was all my own doing, I didn't, of course, a lot of people showed up to see Dino in the band and the other guys, but it was my music. It was all me. And it works well when I do my own shit, kind of thing, And then from there, it just, it took off. I kept playing shows and doing really good shows, and did shows with your band. And, some were great shows. Some were fucking half-ass shows. Like, when we played that biker bar.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
what was
that?
that?
That was kind of a,
we all walked in with our eyeliner on and shit, walked in and netted shirts. And there's all these big, like, Hell's Angels in there. We're like, oh, time to take the makeup.
Yeah. Oh fuck. Where was that?
Like, it was like, where was that? That was out in like Ventura or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I can't.
Was
remember
that Angels? Was that Angels Roadhouse?
That was Angels, I think. Was it Angels Roadhouse?
Yeah.
You know who hooked that up? David.
Yeah.
David Six.
Oh yeah,
you know
my boy David.
Shout out to David.
Yeah, David's our boy. David's our boy.
I love him.
Yeah, I think actually you and I think got connected through David, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was back in the MySpace days. It was back in the MySpace days. At some point we started talking, and we had some really interesting conversations on the phone. I remember that. And I was like, man, Skummy's doing a lot of good stuff, and he puts on a great live show, and he's connected with all these great rock stars, and he's you were on fire in the Hollywood scene at that time for sure. So you asked us, my old band Serpent Underground, Cody, I don't even know if you were in the band yet. No, you weren't.
No, not with what you're talking about. No,
because it was 666.
Mm-hmm.
So
I came in 07. It was just before. Yeah, it was just before the whiskey.
July the 6th in 2006.
Yeah. June 6th.
So no, June 6th.
Yeah.
June 6th. Sorry.
Yeah.
June 6th, 2006. That was a good show, right? We had Jimmy Rock came out with what was the name of that? It was Hollywood Music Television.
Yeah. It was crazy,
I think it was Hollywood Music TV, and Rock City News was behind you and all that stuff. So it was a great show, man. It was good times, man.
And it was
till this day.
Yeah, what I love about that show is that all the bands were good, and then we're at the whiskey, but we were also going against like Hank 3 and Danzig playing at the Wiltern down the street for the for the satanic Church of Satan show, and then there was another like Satan Radio and all these like real satanic fucking shows going on, and we still had a pack. I think we were like 40 people shy of selling out.
Good gosh.
Wow.
That show. Crazy. And it was of course the help of all you guys and the bands and everybody, and you would think that like, because I booked that like 3-4 years in advance. So I was like, I'm going to play on this day.
You were planning it out, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so and we, after, even with all those other crazy shows, there's a lot of metal shows, I can't even think of all of them. And we still did great. We still packed in the house. And that to me, that's always been my thing is I'm a booking agent. It's what I do, you know what I mean? I'm the LA booking agent. So, phone's falling. Stop. So, that's
earthquake. We just had an earthquake, folks.
COVID rushed his house, man.
That wasn't technical difficulty. That was a legitimate 3.1. No, I'm just kidding.
I have it sitting on speakers on top of boxes.
I gotta find somebody to
dude, full disclosure, it's the same. I've got 2 camera cases and a phone case stacked on top of each other, so my camera is level. Because if not, it's just
Britannica. I mean, what else am I going to use it for? I could chuck it in the fireplace, but no, I'm just kidding. Exactly. Anyways, so what do you think, bro? I mean, dude, you have such an impressive career, honestly, and I don't know what your viewpoint is, and I don't know how you look at, success and how you equate that with what you've done, or somebody that goes after a dream and how much they accomplish and what they don't accomplish. What does that mean? What does success mean to you, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask.
Happiness in what you do. It's like I went, I was just a kid in the music industry running around, and I don't even know what a music industry is at 16. I was just skateboarding to gigs, and then the promoter going, dude, you're at every gig, so you must see every band. I'll pay you to help me book punk bands and metal bands. And okay. And they'd give me like $100 and I'd bring them some bands. And that's how I started. And, you see all these bands, would you like to write for Rock City News and just tell us about your experiences with the bands? And I was a horrible writer because I was in high school and I was homeless and just did it. And my whole thing was like, if you want something, go after it. And never take no for an answer. And believe me, I'm not a rich guy whatsoever. I mean, I just got my first new lease car a couple of years ago. Besides that, I was driving junkers and, you know, everything. I have kids. I have, well, two are grown up and 2 are still in my house, you know? So, you know, I just built this whole thing behind me. It's a studio I just put together because I was bored, and it's just a garage band studio,
right?
You know, and it's just because I want to make ideas, but everyone else wants to learn how to. I'm going to produce my own albums, but my thing is, I'd rather go to an actual producer, an actual studio, and finish up the album there. I'll demo it here, give it to the guys, especially in this quarantine time. You know, I send it to them in an email. They put their touches on. Oh yeah, I think we need to do this. You want to cut that one out, and we work everything out in our own houses. But I don't want to record that way.
Right.
So I'll wait till we get the songs solid, and then I'll call up Bill Matoyer or Roman or you know, Ben Jovi or any of those guys that did my other stuff. Todd from Dead Girls wants to record with us, you know, and go, hey man, I want to come to you and bring you some songs. How much you charge me? And go in there, because for me, I don't want to take away their business. And I've always found it really proactive and good when you go to a studio with a producer that has ideas. He can listen to your song and give you something that's outside the box, because you and your boys are right here. You're a gang. You're together, and you're all thinking alike for the most part.
Yeah.
Right. But you got this outside guy who comes in and goes, you know what would be really cool there if you did like a little lead there, or if you cut this, you know, piece in half and maybe did a little bit of this here, and your drums, if you fucking do a little raw, you know, then you're like, oh, you know what? And your vocals are the same phrasing the last 2 songs. So why don't we change it up?
Right.
So you don't sound the same phrasing. You're going to, you know, we're going to try something new with you.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I'd rather go to a producer that's going to kick my ass. And, you know, some people, well, I don't want to change my sound. It's not about changing sound. It's about making it better.
Right.
You know? And so I'd rather go to a producer and do that kind of thing.
Especially with the rock genre, you know, a lot of, you know, your hip hop guys, you can do a lot of shit in box because you're looking for the beat, you know, but especially when it comes to the rock thing, you want that back and forth with your bandmates, especially in the studio. And if you have a producer, those guys have worked with so many different styles. Like fucking Skummy just said, you know, he's going to have the guy who mastered, what was it, DMX?
Yeah. Well, like Bill Matoyer did Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
He did Slayer. He did DRI. He's done Sacred Reich. He's done every Metal Blade band. So if he wants to master my album or even produce it, that's awesome.
Exactly. And the specialization of those guys can add magic that you can't do by yourself in box, simply because you've dedicated your time to writing a song or making that perfect guitar solo. Those guys are designed to make the song stand on its own legs. So to not give those guys who specialize their own time in perfecting the production side, you're kind of selling yourself and your product short, because you're not giving them their time. You know, that's all part of it. You know.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of songs, like even on like my first album, because you know, I was new to this stuff. I came in with some pretty straightforward, you know, 2-dimensional kind of things, where Roman was like, you know, I like where you're going with this, but it needs a big chorus. I'm hearing this big chorus. And I go, like what? And he grabbed the guitar, you know, and then just went, okay, here, let me try this, and did some chords over, you know, over what was the chorus. And I was like, oh wow, that made it a total different song almost, right. You know. And that chorus, that right there is like, wow, I that's a great hook. And he goes, yeah. So but that's what a producer does. He comes in and goes, here, throw these 3 chords together right over that, and bam, you got a hook.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So now sing that line over that. And then I did it, and it was like, oh, that made it a 3-dimensional song from my 2-dimensional song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what producers do. And if I have someone like Bill Matoyer, who did Slayer, who did DRI and stuff like that come in, and I bring him a heavier song, and he makes it amazing. I mean, who am I to say no to that?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I have a lot, and the cool. I'm grateful to have people that trust me and know about me pushing their products. You know, before there was a social, what is it? The social people who like sell products online. And stuff.
Oh, like social media.
Yeah, like the social media
Influencers.
But they're yeah,
the influencers.
Yeah, the influencers. I've been one of those before social media.
No, that's no joke. You really have,
sure.
actually.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, you really have.
You know, so I get like the guy Ben who did my song, one of my last songs, Devil May Sing. He Left Coast Studios. He was like he was like, hey, just come down and record with me. I'm not going to charge you for it. I love your music and I really want to work on a song. So I went down there and worked on a song, and he kind of let me just do my thing. But I was like, I kept kind of pushing him because he's a newer producer. Like, well, give me your input. What do you think this song needs? Well, maybe a little bit of this. You know, I had to push him to produce it, you know, a little bit, because he was like, well, I'll just engineer it. You tell me what you want. But I wanted his ear.
Yeah.
And I thought the song came out great. And it's funny because my old producer, Roman, was like, well, you could have brought that song to me. And I go, well, I tried to, and you were busy. So I brought it to him, and he's a new guy. And I wanted a fresh kind of feel to it, because Roman knows me. Roman Marisak, who's with Professional Murder Music, you know, he knows me up and down. So, but I wanted something fresh, a different ear. And I thought the song came out perfect. And, you know, so he didn't charge me, and I went into the studio and did it, you know, and then I had a buddy of mine, Alex, who has a studio, who was like, I'll master it for you, you know, and I worked with him with Schecter. So, you know, he's like, yeah, I'll master it for you. He mastered it, and the song came out great. And then Roman came in. I was like, I want to do a remix of it, and then did a remix. But I have this thing where people trust me. So after that, I give their name. Like even with Bill Matoyer, who already has a name. You know, when I signed to EMP, they said, okay, who did your album? Okay, well, Roman Marisak finished the album, producing it. I was mastered by Bill Matoyer. Oh, really? He does mastering? I go, yeah, that's how this came out. It's like, oh, this sounds amazing. Would he master more stuff? And I said, yeah, hey, Bill, I'm going to hook you up with EMP. And he ended up getting work mastering most of their albums.
Wow.
So that's where my payment comes in a lot of times, because I'm not a rich guy. I don't have money. Is, you know, because you get those people, hey, I'll promote you, bro, if you know, hook me up. And then the people run off as soon as you give them what they want.
Right.
I'm, on the other hand, will kick ass to try to push you as much as I can. Like right now, I mentioned Bill's name and everyone's name, you know, that's part of it. And you know, he was like, fuck yeah, I'm overloaded with EMP bands right now. This is great. You know, then the quarantine hit, you know, and everything's kind of slow for everybody. But even he's busy working with other bands, because he's like, listen, I'll work with you. You tell me your budget. And he's working with all these bands. And this is like to me, Bill Matoyer is like, if you're in a metal band, you want Bill Matoyer to do your shit. You know what I mean? I mean, he's Slayer. I mean, come on. First 3 albums of Slayer were done by Bill Matoyer, you know? Yeah. So, you know, it's that kind of thing. So I've always been that influencer. And so I've got a lot of people that trust me when I do what I do. You know, and that's why I got the job with like Schecter Guitars even, you know?
Yeah. How'd you get in that? How'd you get into Schecter?
Well, you know, we were already endorsed by Schecter, as you can see. We already endorsed by Schecter, and we just got off the Static X tour, and we were home, and the band, like my guitar player wanted to go see his girlfriend, and we had like a Typo Negative show, tour, like on the West Coast, like 3 or 4 shows coming up, and he's like, no, I want to go see my girlfriend. And I'm done right now. And I was like, well, fine, and you're fired.
No.
And I was like going through my second divorce and losing my house and all this shit. So I talked to my A&R guy, Brian Wickman, and I was like, dude, I need a job. Do you have any jobs here? And he goes, you want to stuff envelopes with catalogs? And I said, I'll do anything. So I started stuffing envelopes, catalogs. I did it like they gave me a month's worth of catalogs of stuff, and I did them all within a week. And he's like, how the fuck did you do that many? I'm like, I don't know. And so we.
Well, I got the magic tongue, baby.
Yeah. Well, I told him I'm a Mexican. So, and I went in and I just did it, and then it was like, hey, we need somebody to do whatever task it was, whether hang pictures on the wall or fix something. You know, we need someone who can do this. Who do we know that can do this? And I'd stick my head out of the office and go, I'll do it. And they're like, oh, you know how to do that? Even if I did.
He's just like, Jesus Christ, where did you come from? You just pop out of the door.
I would say, yeah, I can do it. And then I go look on YouTube real quick. How to do this.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Go, okay, I know how to do it. And then go and do it. And then they're like, oh, cool. Hey, do you know anything about merch? Well, yeah, I did merch for Danzig and Fear Factory and, you know, Rob Zombie, all these things. Okay, cool. Well, can you come and work our merch stuff because we're having trouble selling merch and get it up online and do it. Okay. And then we fucking it blew up and we're doing all the Schecter merch. And then Brian was like, hey, do you know this band? I'm like, yeah, I know that band real well. I toured with them. Okay, well, can you talk to them? Because they're coming in to get some guitars, and this is what they want. Can you help me out? Sure. And then it was like, I knew every band that was coming in, so they were like, well, you want to be his assistant? You know, assistant to A&R? Sure. And then he left, and then it was like, I guess you're A&R now. And then I was assistant to the president and doing A&R, and still doing all the side work too, because I don't say no, I just keep going.
Right.
And you know, then it's been 12 years I've been working at Schecter, going on 13, and it's like I just been doing what I do, and you know, everyone knows me as Skum, you know, and they'll walk in and they'll be, what the fuck, you know, you work here? And so it's kind of cool, you know. So that's just how it is. I just kind of walked into it. I lived at the warehouse of Schecter the first couple of years because I lost my house, and you know, and lost the band, lost the label, of course, and everything else. I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna work for a while, and lived in the warehouse, you know, until I found a new house, and you know, so.
But you don't give up, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, if you listen to your story, it's you keep your head down, you push your industry, you stay where you want to be, and fuck everything else. It's like,
yeah, well, it's what you have to do.
Fucking A. But most people won't. That's what I mean. That says so much about who you are, brother. I mean, there's a reason you're a legend in the LA scene and everything you do. I mean, my God, man, you are absolutely fucking undeniable. You will not take no for an answer. You go and get what you want. It's
no, you. Yeah, I mean,
I've cleaned every toilet in this in every club in Hollywood. So you know.
But like you said, though, it's a matter of getting the job done. You said you needed the job. You're not too proud. You'll do what you need to do to get what you need. And it's fucking that kind of attitude is what beckons moving forward. So many people will go, oh, I want to be in the industry, and they'll go, okay, well, you know, go pay a club. Nobody's going to be there. Fuck that.
Yeah, you have to work your way up from the mail room all the way up every job.
Fuck yes.
You know, I don't have a high school diploma. I didn't go to college. You know, I just worked hard. I made a lot of wrong decisions too, but it's learning from those decisions that make you stronger.
Right.
And you know, and that's the way I believe. It's like even during the quarantine here, during all of this stuff, people are complaining and crying about, oh my God, I'm losing everything. Why are you losing everything? Go fucking do something. You know, it's like I you know, I did my gigs at the Viper Room every Wednesday, and you know, I had a small SkumLove tour about to happen on the West Coast, and of course all that got put on hold. And you know, and I make good money at, you know, doing my rockaholic stuff at the Viper and shit, and that all got put on hold. And I said, well, what am I going to do? Because the money I make from that pays my car payment, pays my insurance, takes care of the family. The stuff I make at Schecter pays the rent, buys the groceries, and pays the bills. So, what am I going to do with one of my jobs gone?
Right.
And I started making masks. I was like, you know what? Because the funny thing is, I ordered masks online from Amazon because on Valentine's Day we were going to do a like an apocalyptic Valentine's Day show. Because I think you guys played one of my Valentine's shows. I used to do them all the time, and Valentine Massacre shows. And this time I wanted our stage set to be very apocalyptic, and the masks never showed up. So I was like, fuck, okay, whatever. So we still did our show the way we want. So I wanted our backup dancers to wear the masks, with the SkumLove logo on them. They never showed up. So, and then of course, 2 weeks later, we're all on lockdown in March, and everything went to hell. So the masks finally showed up in June. And I was like, well,
June, Jesus.
Yeah. And I was like, I wonder. So I heat pressed the SkumLove logo on these masks that I got. I had like 10 of them. So I figured the girls would wear the mask, and then I'd sell a couple more at the merch booth. And I did it. I put it up online. I said, hey, anybody want to buy some SkumLove masks? And I sold them all in 20 minutes.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
And I went, oh, this is something. And at the same time, Schecter's like, go buy some masks for Schecter, because we have to work and this and that. And so I found this little lady who's sewing, seamstress in Van Nuys, who's her business, she had to close it down.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was doing like masks. And I was like, how much are the masks? And she, okay, this is how much. And I go, I needed like 100 of them for my work. And she did 100 of them. I brought them to my work, and I go, can you make me another 30? She made me another 30. And I heat pressed my logo on them and sold all of them again real quick. And I went, well, fuck, what if I put other logos on it? So I started asking people, what do you want? And they're like, oh, can you make me a Metallica one? Okay, sure, there you go. And I just kept doing it, and I would do little logos of, like Thunderdome and, Mad Max logos and shit, And I just, putting skull and crossbones on them and shit. And I just started selling the fuck out of them. And I'm still selling the fuck out. I do probably a good 100 or more a month, if not
really
200 a month.
Damn, dude.
And that supplemented my income, threefold.
That's crazy.
And it's because you have to just go with it. You adapt. If you for music in general, in this industry, if you can't learn to adapt, you're gonna fucking fall to the wayside.
Facts.
Let's go deep into that. Let's do a deep dive into that, if you don't mind, Skummy.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the industry, the music industry? Let's go back to when you were first coming up. What your thoughts about it? Pros and cons of the music industry at that point, and then let's go to the current situation, and then let's talk about what you think is going to happen from here. Is that cool?
Yeah,
okay.
Totally.
So starting with when you were first coming up, how do you think the music business was that back then, and in comparison to how it was right before COVID hit?
It was pretty flourishing because the LA scene just opened back up again. So we had like every band, just like in the 80s, every band got signed because I was doing Snot, Korn, Fear Factory, Cold Chamber, Static X, System of a Down, Spine Shank, all on shows. On Tuesday nights was a free night at the Roxy, and it was like free if you're over 21, $3 under, and it was sold out every night, packed in, and just with local bands, and it's what we did. And it was the same rotation of local bands, more or less. There's a few other ones, but every one of those bands started to get signed immediately. Just bam, here goes Fear Factory was the first one. Then here goes Korn. Then here goes Cold Chamber. And then they just kept going, And it was insane. And so it's just like the 80s. All these labels were making money again. Bands are getting handpicked straight from the stage. And, you know, the whole new metal thing was a big thing. And, you know, it was going good. And then it started to, the thing is, when you do stuff like that, and the metal and the new metal kids were not like the 80s guys, where the 80s guys were getting so fucked up already and were already mega stars on the Sunset Strip. They at least had a year or two playing the Sunset Strip before they got signed. So they were already mini rock stars on the Sunset Strip, doing all the drugs, drinking, and all the partying before a tour ever happened. So when they went on tour, it was just a bigger version of what they were already used to.
Right.
With the new metal bands, they didn't have a lot of that locally. It was still kind of like, there wasn't a lot of groupies and things like that. But then when they hit the road, there's a lot more drugs and groupies and stuff on the road. So they were thrown into something new, and it kind of hit them harder, and it fucked them up more. You know what I mean? And they kind of couldn't take it. They couldn't deal with it. And that's why a lot of those bands fell off. So you had all these new metal bands get signed on right from the start and then fell off. And, you know, and only the strong ones survived, like Korn. And, you know, I like saying Fear Factory's new metal, but they came out that same time. But like, you know, like Fear Factory and Korn and, you know, Static X, System of a Down all survived because they adapted and they did what they needed to do. And these other bands didn't want to do that, and they didn't know how to adapt. Oh my God, we're giving all these free drugs, so we're going to do them, you know. And like Cold Chamber was a big thing on that, where they got really big too fast, and the drugs hit them, and they had issues like that, and they couldn't get along because they were all doing different, you know. They weren't getting along. They all had different aspects. They're all doing different drugs, you know, and it kind of, they imploded. And it was things like that really worked against the scene. And then the scene was dead again all of a sudden, you know, and it was like,
that's
well, what
interesting.
do we do now?
Do you think that had a lot to play in it? Yeah.
I think so. It was the lack of adaptation. It was the lack of direction. No, because the labels kind of were like, it was a kind of a do it like it is kind of now, like just go out and do it, you know.
Yeah.
And they let them go out and do it, and no one had, you know, good management, and no one had anybody to direct them. I'm a big, even though I have a manager, but I kind of, you know, do my own thing, but I'm a big advocate for management, for having somebody be the leader of the band, for somebody to drive the bus. Because if everyone's hands are on the wheel, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
You're swerving too much. You need one person in control. You know, and this is what I do with my band. I go, you know, I'm the leader. I write most of the music. I write it with you guys. When we play live, I don't take all that money and tell them to fuck off. You know, I go, when we do get paid, I go, and here's yours, here's yours, here's yours, and here's yours. Everyone gets equal amount, you know, but everyone has a job. Like, you know, I'll give like my drummer, hey, you're going to handle social media and put the ads out on there. My bass player, hey, you're going to still do old school flyers. I'll make them, you take them out, you know, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, we all have you have to have a job, including in what you do in the band. You know, if you're a guitar player, you're not just guitar player. I'm just going to come in and play guitar. No, you're a guitar player, and you learn how to silk screen shirts. And then, you know, you learn Photoshop because you're going to make all the fucking ads and virtual, you know, ads. So you learn Photoshop, Mr. Bass Player. And drummer, you're going to do this. You're going to have the van and the studio, you know. So everybody has their extra jobs. And
well, how'd that work out for you? Because yours truly and my buddy over here, we both experienced this, man. It was like pulling teeth to get other band members. Cody and I, when we were in Serpent, or when we were pushing Serpent, we were the ones that were working. Everybody else was just, I just want to play bass. I just want to play drums. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
Needs to be a team. Needs to be a team effort. If no one wants to be on the team, they're out of the team. You know. And I've said that many times. I've kicked people out of the band that were big names and things like that because you know what? If you can't do your part, like when Dino was in the band, he wasn't like, I'm Dino and I get a 20-person guest list. And, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like I need a 20-person guest list and I need this and you make sure I have a dresser. He didn't do that. He didn't go, I'm Dino.
Dino's a really nice guy, man.
Yeah.
I've met Dino a few times. He's a cool
Dino
dude.
goes, buy me a burrito after the gig and give me a couple Coronas. And that's what literally I paid him, you know? And if we got money, which luckily I've been one of those bands that have had a positive thing with that, getting paid for gigs, so that I went, and here's your part. And he didn't go, well, you know, since I'm the name, you need to throw me extra money. He never did that shit. He just goes, okay, thanks. You know, and I was like, hey, we need to rehearse. I need to find a rehearsal spot. Well, you know, I still got my spot. Why don't you just come rehearse at my spot? Okay, thanks, Dino. You know, and it was that kind of thing. He always would go because he knew I was the leader of the band. He was the leader of Fear Factory. I was the leader of my band. And never did he come in and go, you know, you should do this. He just goes, tell me what you want me to play. Tell me when you want me to show up, what you need me to do. You need me to flyer, you know, I have my family, we go play brick by brick. My whole family lives out there. I can send them some flyers and have them flyer everything down there for you. Wow. Okay, great. So even someone of his caliber would help out with that kind of thing, you know. And if you got people that I don't even want, it's a popularity contest. It really is a popularity contest. And you know, as I've always said, you know, you got 5 people in a band. If these 5 people, you know, can't bring 5 people each to a show, they have no reason to be in a band or on that stage. That's the way I look at it, because if like here's Joe number 1, you have your buddy John over here. Does he have a girlfriend? Yeah, good. Make sure they go to the show. That's 2 people. And then you have your other friend here. Do you have a girlfriend? No. Okay, well, tell him and then tell his sister. There's 4 people. Tell one more person. They got 5 people. 10, 15, 20, 25 people. You got a show. If you can't do that, if you don't, it's a popularity contest. If you don't have 5 friends and you're in a band, you shouldn't be in a band.
Not a bad way to look at it, honestly. One, because it also ties into how willing are you to do stuff for your fucking group. Like Ralph said, we had guys way in the early on. It was like everything they were working, and then something would happen, or I would say, okay, I'm going to do this, and then they would just stop, and we'd go, wait, like what happened here? And Ralph will remember this. I don't even. Do you remember Crash Mansion in L.A.? Remember how you had to go load in up those fucking stairs? We had we were doing a show there, and
his back's hurting right now.
Yeah, everybody's like, oh, dude. We had a dude in our band at the one time who gave us shit because we said, grab your amp and start hauling, and his response was, I paid my dues. I shouldn't have to do this. And we're like, bitch, we're all hauling shit. What are you talking about?
What I say? I say, you paid your dues. You're in this band now. So apparently your dues weren't paid enough. You just downgraded. You know?
I don't have any more money in my checking account, so you couldn't have paid your dues to me.
Yeah.
No,
Exactly.
But like you said, it's the mentality. It's like, are you stepping up for your band, or are you trying not to do some work?
Dude, it is that way. And it's like, for instance, we would go out and do like a couple days with like a prong, and it's happened every fucking time. We'd go out, do some dates with prong, come home, and then like a bass player would be like, you know what, dude, I need a couple days off. I need a week off, or they go, you know what, this was so good, I think I'm better than you guys, so I'm gonna go do my own stuff. And seriously, I've had a bass player go, you know what, I'm gonna start my own band and do my own thing. But then they end up calling me, hey, do you have that number to that booking agent? Hey, do you have that number to Monster Energy? Hey, do you have that number to? I go, you can't use my contacts. Fuck you, that's my contacts. I worked hard for those contacts. You get your own contacts. You're the one that left the band. And then, oh, fuck. He thought because he could use my name, I'm like, SkumLove ain't shit. We're just a band. We're not Metallica. So you can't go somewhere and say, hey, I was a member of SkumLove. Well, you was. So you're not anymore, you know?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I've had many band members that did that. Guitar players, like the guitar player, after we got off a successful Static X tour in the Midwest, we got home and he wanted to go see his girlfriend. And it was like, dude, I'm working on a potential tour that's going to start in 2 weeks with Typo. And it's like, well, you know, postpone it or something. We'll do it with someone else. What? You can't do that. We're an opening band. We got to take whatever we can. Well, you know what? You know, we got to demand this then. What do you mean demand? You're still opening. You did one tour. I've done 10. You have done one tour as a person. Now you think you're cool?
Yeah.
And I had so many of them, you know? And it's unbelievable. Even like we did a string of shows with like Danzig. We did the Blacks of the Black shows, and we did the Universal Amphitheater. Got off stage, and like a week later, my drummer at the time goes, "I'm moving back to Wisconsin. I'm going to marry my high school sweetheart, and I'm out." I'm like, "We just played the biggest show we've ever played on the biggest stage ever, you know, and you're now going to leave?" Wow. It's some weird shit that always happens to me. And that's why I have the band guys that I have now. I've had Robinson since the beginning. Dave, our DB, our bass player, has been on and off with us forever. He's the only one that kind of, he shows up and plays, but he does tell everybody about the shows and shit. He also works at Amoeba, so he has a good connect there to post about shows. But DB is about the only one that at this point I allow just to walk in and play and leave, because he plays my bass. This is his fucking bass, which is mine, you know. And I have my, you know, I bring all the fucking pedals. He doesn't own this, I do. So I bring all of that. I advance a cabinet there, and I bring the stuff. And he walks in like an hour before the show, comes in, gets up on stage, plays, gets off stage, and leaves. And, you know, I allow him to do that because he's a good bass player. He fits in very well. And it is what it is. I mean, you know, it's like we had his brother Rattan was our drummer. And then all of a sudden, as we're getting good momentum in this last 6 years, trying to, you know, get the band going again, he was playing on and off with Powerman 5000. And then all of a sudden he's like, now I'm an official member of Powerman 5000. I got to go. And I was like, fuck. You know?
So some of it was just bad luck, right? Yeah.
I mean, it happens. It is what it is. But, you know, I'm not going to keep somebody from somebody more successful. So if he's getting Powerman 5000, he is making that step up. Right. If he was saying, you know, I'm playing for band X over here that opens up for you now.
Yeah.
You're going to take a step down? Yeah. You know, that's your loss.
Well, I mean, I totally feel you, brother, because, you know, that's something that we kind of do have in common because especially with Serpent Underground.
Yeah.
Man, we had so many member problems, dude. Honestly, I think in total, it's kind of embarrassing to have to admit this. We had like 14 people come and go. 14 people. You know what I mean? And the band was only going for 12 years. I mean, that's a long time.
I was going to say only is a rough word, dude. That's a long time for a band.
You know what I mean? That's a long time, but 14 people, that's more than one person a year, basically.
Yeah.
So
dude, we did the same thing. I think we're up to 18.
Wow. Yeah, you know, and I honestly, Skummy, I think that is a part of what slowed Serpent down, in my opinion. Yeah. There was a point of time when we had Wind Up Records very interested in us. And, you know, they launched Creed's career. They had Finger 11. They had Seether. I think they had Amy.
Evanescence.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. They had them at that time. And that's when they were interested. That was like in 2008. Yeah. But we were having so many issues with members that the whole thing just didn't come together based on that. And so, you know, we could have gotten signed to Wind Up Records, and who knows where that would have led. I don't know. But my point is, I feel you on this, dude. A lot of times, that's what knocks a band down. And the lead protagonist.
So many big tours to do, and had to put them off because of band members, you know? And the guys now understand my vision. They understand my concept. They understand what I want to do. We're all in our 40s, so you know, we're not young chickens, you know, and it's. I still have people that use, you know, member of SkumLove on their fucking whatever their Facebook or their fucking resume or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know where that's going to get you. You know, I mean, yeah, I might be a local hero, but I mean, I don't know where that's going to get you.
Well, but
else.
you've toured on a national level, and you also, like you mentioned before, you've toured with some big bands. How was the Static X tour, by the way? That had to be super cool, man.
That was really cool. It was through the Midwest, and it was like the last show that Wayne and Tony were on together. It was it was kind of bizarre because Wayne and I were good friends, and we lived around the block from each other in Burbank, and so we'd always see each other. But then, you know, his girlfriend was fucking insane, and that's why what happened to him happened and what happened to her. So I don't want to get all negative. So, but you know, we'd show up, and it was like all like, "Hey man, thank you guys for playing the show," and Tony would hang out with us, and Wayne kind of secluded with his girlfriend kind of thing. And so it was really weird to see that dynamic because they were best friends and they were really one of my favorite bands. And seeing that Wayne was over here and Tony was over here was kind of weird for me because I'm like in the middle, like, hey, Wayne, hey, you know, my oldest daughter announced Static X on stage when she was like 8 or 10.
Jeez. And I'm not trying to I don't want to dig up like drama or anything. I'm just not sure. Was it kind of like a Yoko situation? Is that what happened?
Basically, I mean, yeah. It was just like, for instance, the first show we went to play in Montana was just like 1,200 seater, and it was sold out. And we're at sound check loading in, and we were told, hey, everyone needs to clear the venue because Wayne and Tara are coming in. And I was like, well, why did he even say Tara's name? She's not part of the band. So I go, whatever. And I'm sitting there talking. Tony goes, nah, fuck that. You stay right here. And I was on the side of the stage with Tony, you know, because Tony Campos played in my band. You know, he played in SkumLove. Right, so he was like, just stay the fuck here, Holmes. So it was like, okay. And we're sitting there talking. And then I hear, Skummy, can you leave too? And then Tony's yelling, fuck that. If he leaves, I ain't fucking doing sound check. And I'm like, oh, there's some fucking shit happening here. Oh. Dude, it's okay. I'm going to go back. I got to go get some lunch for the guys in the band anyway. I'm going to go, you know, bye. And I left. And they walked in hand in hand, you know, like hardcore. And she walked him up to the stage and stood on the stage and whatever. And I left, came back, and then the promoter was coming up right before the show and was like, okay, so this is the deal. And over at the Static X tent, and Tara was in there. And like, okay, and her face is on all their merch. I don't like the woman at all. Even dead.
Really couldn't tell you, bro.
So she's there, and they're like, okay, so we can take 30% of your merch. So we need you to, and she goes, 30%? Fuck that. We'll give you 20%. That's it. Well, it's 30%. No, then we're pulling all of our merch. We're not doing this, which is that's how you go through the game. It's fine. She goes, take the extra 10 from the local bands. Fuck that.
Wow.
And pointed over at us, you know, at the openers. And I was like,
oh shit.
You. So me and Seventh Void was on that. And if you don't know who Seventh Void is, that's Johnny Kelly and Kenny Hickey from Type O's band. They were opening up. They were between us. So their merch guy, his name was Handsome. He's good friends with the guys from Pantera and stuff. So I've met him many times, and he was like, Skummy, we got to devise a plan. This is the plan. They can't take percentages of the CDs. So what I'm going to do is make our CDs $25 a piece, and you can pick any shirt you want for free.
Nice.
You get a free shirt. This way, you're not selling merch, so you don't have to pay them a percentage. You're only selling CDs.
You're giving those shirts away.
You know, and so we're like, But we're like, yeah, because shirts were going to be $25 a piece anyway, and you get a free CD. We just flipped it, So at the end, they're like, okay, so we need to collect, and we're like, oh, well, we didn't sell any merch. We sold CDs, and you get a free shirt, And they're like, oh, well, and they like came up right before the doors, and they're like, so what do you want on your rider? We can get a rider from you. And I was like, can we just get like a 12-pack of Corona and I don't know, a case of water? That's all we need. Okay, and they brought that to our merch table because we didn't really have a dressing room. And I said, okay, cool. So we set it there. And at the end of the night, we got off stage. The crowd was great. We didn't know we had a following in Montana. We had like interviews we're doing that our label didn't tell us about and all this shit. So we're happy, And I go to the promoter. The person comes by and says, hey, promoter wants to see you so he can pay you. I'm like, all right. So on my contract, it said $300. I'm getting paid. So I go up to the promoter. I'm like, all right, get our money because we spent every dime we had to get to Montana. That was our first show. Well, we went to Utah, played a one-off, and then Montana. And got up there, and the promoter's like, here's $100. And I went, no. It must be 3. And he's like, well, we gave you a 12-pack of Corona and a case of water. I go, well, that's not $200. That's like $50. Whatever.
Where are you buying this Corona, bro?
Right? He's like, well, it's whatever the price is for the venue. And I was like, fuck you. You can have it. We haven't even touched it yet. And he's like, nope, that's what it is. Pissed off walking down. But we did like $500 in merch, so it's fine.
Wow.
So we did that, and then we went back to the hotel because we spent money on a hotel because we had one day drive. So we're like, okay, let's just fucking get a hotel. So we had our hotel, and I walked out to go get some food from there's a bar area, and I'm in a pair of cut-off sweats, and like this tank top, and I walk over there, and I walk in, and these people are like, woo! And I look up, and it's like the radio station, and it has our banner, it says SkumLove, and I was like, what's going on? Like, yeah, you're here finally. And I was like, this is the meet and greet. And I was like, oh, fuck.
This is the meet and greet.
My label sucked. It was, misfortune. They sucked. And I was like, I don't know anything about this. Give me a second. And I ran back to the room and I put my pants back on and, fuck guys, get out of bed. Let's go. They have a meet and greet, I guess, for some party, the label or, the radio station's throwing for us. They're like, what? Here in our hotel. And okay, so we all walked out there and drank for free and ate food and signed autographs and shit. We didn't know nothing about it. No one told us.
Damn.
So I guess
it's not cool, but it's cool.
Yeah, I guess Montana.
Surprise!
It's like a Spinal Tap story.
So then we played another show the next night with just Seventh Void and us playing together, and got paid good money for that. And it was like maybe 100 people in there. So it was such a weird thing. We play for 1,200 sold out and get $100. We play for 100 people and we get like 5, and it was crazy. And people across the street could hear us and they invited us over for dinner, and it was kind of cool. Then we take off and we go like the next gig. And so anyway, every gig, basically they were cutting our pay. They were like, here's $100, and I was like, we're supposed to get 3. But I wasn't going to get off the tour. They knew that. But we just kept going and fucking spending every dollar we had on fumes to try to get to the next gig. And our last show was at the Eagle Ballroom in Wisconsin, which, if you know, this big famous place and big. And so we're playing with Static X there. We get off stage, and our old drummer lived there. So he brought a bunch of people, and we sold like so much merch. I mean, we made like $1,000 in merch. And I could tell Tony was still having issues with Wayne and his wife's on stage dancing, And I was like, what are you, in SkumLove? Yeah, I mean, it's like, fuck, and he went, and like she walks, there's a thing, I don't know if you've seen Static X. Usually Royal was the tour manager, would walk up with a big server plate with shots of tequila and give to each band member on stage, and everyone raise your glasses and do a shot.
Right.
And she started doing it, and Tony would never take a shot. He's like, nope.
So he looked down at me and said, hey, go get me a shot from the bar. So then I'm bringing him shots myself, getting them wasted. You know, I'm like walking into the barricade. And, here you go, man. And I'm drinking my shot. And, you know, so that last show, you know, Tony's like, man, we got a party and shit. Da, 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 da. So we sold most of our merch. Almost everything was sold out at that point. So I go back to the promoter and I walk back there and he's giving me that grin, you know, like, last show, guys, you guys did great. You guys got to come and play for me on your own and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, whatever. And he hands me a rolled up thing of money. Here you go. And I didn't even count it. I just threw it in my pocket. And I look at the receipt and I said 300. I went, oh, you finally paid me all my money. $300 tonight. So I signed the receipt, you know, and I walk off. And I pull the money out of my pocket as I walked out, undo the rubber animal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $600. Fuck. So I take 3 of it and put it in one pocket. The other 3, I wind it back up in the rubber band and put it back in the same pocket. Get to my merch, and I just walked around the table, and I told my bass player or my guitar player, I go, Robin, pack everything up. We're leaving now. What? We're leaving now. Goes, how about the after party we're gonna have with the? Fuck that. We're leaving now. And the promoter come running up. Dude, how much money did I give you? I'm like,
oh,
$300.
Steve says 300. He goes, well, how much I give you? And I pull out the rubber band. And I'm gonna do it. 1, 2, 3. 300. That's all I gave you? Don't you trust me? My name is Skum. I smile at him, you know, and he and he walks off like scratching his head. Fuck. So I put the money back in. Go, dude, now pack up. Pack in the van. And the guys from, you know, the typo guys are there, you know, and 7-4 guys are like, dude, where you going? I go, Johnny, give me a call after the show. You have to call me after the show. I can't talk right now. We have to leave now. Why? I'll explain it to you later. Call me later. So I leave and he calls me. And he's like, Skummy, so what's going on? I go, man, we had to leave. He goes, hey, did that promoter pay you? I go, yeah, he paid me. He goes, well, we're waiting for him. He had to run to the bank to get more money to pay us our money. And I know he stiffed you on a lot of the shows. I go, yeah. I go, but you know what? He paid me. He must have paid me your payment because he paid me double. He goes, really? I go, yeah. I go, that's why we had to leave. And, we wanted to make sure we got out of there. And he started cracking up. He goes, yeah, we made him. We told him we're going to kick his ass if he doesn't give us our money. So he ran to the bank real quick. Because that's great. You deserve it because he cut you on like 3 shows. And I'm like, yeah. So now we made our money back up. So I had to get the fuck out of there, you know? And then I got home and that's when I heard Tony left the band and everything else. But, you know, I mean, it was a great tour. It was fun. You know, we had it was a perfect band for us to play for. So it was good, you know.
What are your personal thoughts on the Static X, what they're doing now?
I love it. I love it because it's all the guys doing what they love to do. This is what, you know, I'm really close to those guys. And like I said, I was close to Wayne too. The problem with Static X was Tara. Like I lived around the block from Wayne. So Wayne, I'd see him. He had a trucker hat on, his hair down, pair of cut off Dickies, and he'd be trimming his hinges, you know, and his hedges, you know, and doing the lawn and shit. And I come by, what up? You know, drive by, Wayne, what's up, Skummy? And go. See him at the store. Yo, Wayne, what's up, man? Hey, brother, how you doing, man? Having a barbecue this weekend. You should come by. Okay, cool. I'll see if I can come by. You know, basic stuff. You know, your neighbor, your friend, you know. And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing him cutting his hedges because he had these like 10-foot hedges in front of his house. And he's cutting them and his hair's up. And he's got his shirt off and he's cutting and I'm looking. I go, don't cut the wrong hedge. Because he has hair up, you know. He's flipping me off, you know, laughing. And then I see him the next couple days and he's at the bank, the Chase Bank. And I'm walking up and I go, it's this guy with the Wayne Static hair, tight fucking jeans on, like skinny jeans on and boots. I walk up, I see the car. I'm like, oh wait, is that Wayne? And Wayne never drove that car until Carolyn made him start driving it. That was his baby. So she's making him drive it during the week. You have to look like a rock star 24 hours a day. You have to go out as a rock star. He was always like, I go on stage, I'm on stage. When I'm off stage, I'm off stage. So I walk, I'm like, nice hair, dipshit. And he turns around, what? Scummy, yeah, you know, and we're laughing, you know. I could go into a gig or something. He goes, no, you know, just figure I'd dress up, you know, look good. We're going out to lunch, you know, and stuff, and look over in the car, and Tara waves to me. I'm like, hi, you know. And you know, he, you know, like anybody else, partied a little bit, but he wasn't like crazy partier and pill popper until she came around. And those are her pills he popped, you know, and that killed him. And then she killed herself a year later. I mean, if that doesn't tell you whose fault it was, I don't know. And I've always been a big thing on this. I don't give a fuck. You fucking ruined one of my favorite bands. Then you fucking killed one of my favorite fucking people. Fuck you. I'm glad you're dead.
So she was like almost a Yoko to you, almost?
Oh, yeah, totally. She totally was. She had to be part of the band. She had to be on all the merch. I have my laminate somewhere. She's on the laminate, you know. It's like, you know, it was if you get.
But how much of that was her taking over and them going, look, he's with a hot chick, we might as well capitalize on it?
No, it was all him and her.
No.
She's my wife. I want her on this. It was a total Yoko Ono kind of thing. So, and Tony was like, fuck, I want to do Static, but what am I going to do? Till she's gone, I ain't doing shit.
Yeah.
She's ruined the band, you know? And you know, some of the members of his Wayne Static band and the Static band after that played Schecter. So I always saw them. They'd come in and they had the same problems, you know. At the last tour they did as Wayne Static, because he couldn't do Static X anymore because he has to pay Tony, you know, equal amounts of merch sold, album sales, and using the name because they owned equal amounts. He couldn't afford it, so he just went out as Wayne Static, and he was driving an SUV with pulling a trailer on the back. He went from owning that house in Burbank to selling it to Roy Mayorga, who lives there now, to living out in the desert in a fucking trailer and doing his tours by pulling the trailer. And then he got a band like Mad Life, which went on tour, and those guys have, you know, some backing, and they have their own tour bus. So he ended up, you're taking my band, my crew on your tour bus if you want to be on the show, kind of thing. Oh wow. Jeez. And pulling our trailer of equipment on the back of your, I mean, that's where it went.
That's sad.
You know, it went down.
Yeah.
So when Tony decided, fuck this, I'm doing it, I talked to Tony extensively about it. Like, you know, what are you going to do? And he's like, we're going to do it because it deserves to be done the right way. And, you know, Wayne was, it broke my heart when Wayne died. I never wanted death on that guy. I wanted my friendship. I wanted my brother back, but I couldn't have it with her there. So until that was going to happen, you know, I wasn't playing because she was gone, but I wanted my friend back. My friend disappeared years ago. My friend and bandmate turned into someone else, and we all saw it. Every one of us saw it, you know? The only people that still celebrate her and how he was were people that didn't know him. People that didn't know who he was and didn't hang out with him and just know the image of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the smoke and mirrors of what they sold.
Tara, and, you know, it's just, you know, Tara and Wayne, the most ultimate, you know, couple. It's like, no, they weren't. Yeah. They fought constantly. She was a piece of shit, and she was a piece of shit.
Well, that happens a lot, though. A lot of people don't know that happens a lot in bands, whether they're hugely successful or smaller bands just trying to make their way into the touring circuit. You know, it happens. They get these new girlfriends or new wives or whatever, and it doesn't end up doing good for the band. The band ends up breaking up over it or having major problems, you know?
Yeah. See, this is like, for instance, me, I'm married. I have we just had our anniversary.
Congratulations.
Been together 10 years. Thank you. Been together 10 years, 4 years, married.
Damn.
And, she doesn't like my band. She's not a fan of my music. She literally saw us play at the House of Blues, at the Key Club with Kitty one night before we dated. She came in and was like, "What band is this? This band sucks. Let's go and drink. We'll come back before Kitty," And so she doesn't go to my shows. I don't have to put her on the list. She doesn't have to be there. She doesn't go to my rehearsals. She doesn't do anything. She just stays. She's her own person. She was a tattoo artist. Now she's a great working artist. So she does that. And every once in a while, I'll say, "Hey, babe, I don't have a merch person. Can you come do merch for me?" She'll say, "Okay, I'll come out and do merch," and she'll do it. But for the most part, she doesn't go to our shows.
Doesn't get involved, right?
Yeah, she doesn't get involved. I don't get involved in her artwork, unless someone goes, "Hey, I need an artist that can do this." I can ask my wife, "Hey, babe, can you do this?" "Yeah, I'll do that." Tell them it's going to cost this much. It's going to cost this much. Okay, no bro deal, dude. That's my wife's thing. It has nothing to do with me. Okay, and they'll do it because that's her world.
Right.
I always think of what's called the triangle. There's you guys together as a couple. What you guys do together in your household as a couple. Then there's your life over here in this corner. This is her life over in this corner. Sometimes it joins in the middle here, but it shouldn't have to be your girlfriend follows you to every corner and you follow her to her corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you need
no,
your
totally.
separate lives.
Independence. Yeah.
And it
Absolutely.
works out. I don't fight I haven't had a fight with my wife. We argue like any other couple, and it usually it's like she's like one of my boys. It's like we'll argue a second and then we get into ball busting, and laugh about it, and then whatever, it's done.
That's how it should be. It should be arguments, not fighting. There's a big difference.
Yeah, exactly.
It always helps. It always helps. It always helps when your partner is willing to support you and not step on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that happens a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we have our experience with that. We've had our experience with that. I've had personal experiences with that, and it's no fun. You know what I mean? So
well, and it's a big difference between saying, it's okay for your significant other not to be your demographic. That's okay.
Right.
But to be against it, ooh, that's a battle. That's a fucking battle.
Like she wants me to go and do my music.
Yeah.
It's like we were having during quarantine, we're stuck in the room over here and watching TV, and she's watching a movie that I just not interested in. So I'm sitting in the corner of the sofa on my phone fucking around, and she's like, "Why don't you go over there and fuck around in your studio?" And I was like, "Well, because I'm spending time with you." She goes, "You're not spending time with me. You're on your phone and I'm watching the movie. I would rather you be over there doing something you enjoy doing and working successfully over there than sitting here bored while I'm watching my movie. That does nobody any good."
Your wife's a fucking badass, dude.
That's true.
Yeah.
My wife's the same way. She's very supportive.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, she's patiently waiting for.
Yeah, my wife makes teas. I'll ask her if I need a design. I'll say I need a design for a shirt. She'll make me up a design. She goes, "Okay, you can use this for a little bit, but I'm taking it back in 6 months to use for my own shit." Okay, whatever. Things like that. And we have we do our Devil's Union merch still.
That's cool. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. I was telling a story about that. As a matter of fact, that I was wearing one of Skummy's shirt designs from Devil's Union, and
I scare Christians for the hell of it.
Yeah, that's the one. And I was at a Starbucks, and people would always look at me all weird because, I come in there, I get the long hair, usually all black, you know what I mean? And they're just like, "Oh, who's this freak?" Then I've got that shirt on. So, you know what I mean? But I had this one dude, and he was from the East Coast, and he was like, "Dude, where'd you get that shirt? I said, oh, this, you like it? He goes, I love it. I fucking love it. I need to get me one of those. So I thought it was kind of cool. I was a billboard for you that day, bro.
Yeah, I have my.
So now you owe me for the tab in Vegas and
right, you're gonna be my model. Yeah, I have like the satanic Hispanic one still, and a bunch of them. And yeah, you know, it's you know, because I know because she needed another outlet, and I said, well, you know, I used to do Devil's Union, my T-shirt company. Why don't we work on that again? And we pulled up a couple of the ideas back out, like the barcode with the pentagram, and we did the satanic Hispanic, and then she did a few other ones, and we, you know, just stupid puns, right. You know, devil puns, satanic puns.
That's awesome though, dude. That stuff, I think that stuff sells well as well. People love it.
But see, that's our line underneath. That's our line together right there.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Perfect. That's a perfect.
You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right.
But I don't get involved in her shit. If she goes and does a convention and it doesn't do well, or someone fucks it up, I go, you let me know if you need my help, but I'm going to step away from it. That's your business. Right. It's your world, you know? And so, yeah, I got fucked over, but now I learned my lesson. And, you know, I don't go, well, I'm going to go kick that guy's ass. You know, I just go, that's your business. Yeah. If you want me to go kick someone's ass, I will, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the way bands should be. You don't take your girlfriend to McDonald's when you're flipping burgers, do you? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't Yeah. That's the way I look at it. You know, so it is what it is. But that's how that, you know, that kind of came about. But, you know, I think what Tony's doing now is great. I love it. The new album they put out together is awesome. You know, I've always loved those guys, and they've always been proper and straightforward. Tony's never been someone who's an opportunist. He's never been someone that fucks people over. I mean, fuck, the dude played with my band because I came to him and go, hey, Tony, do you know any other bass players that kind of play like you? I need a new bass player for SkumLove. We got these gigs coming up. He's like, I'll do it. I go, no, seriously. He goes, I ain't doing Static X for like, we don't have nothing going on for like 6 months. I'll come and do it. I'm like, wow. Okay, we got like 5 shows. Fuck it, I'll do it. Let's do them. And we did them.
I love that kind of shit.
That's
dude.
So cool. Bro.
I love that kind of shit.
He put his bass. Awesome. He put his bass on his in a soft case. Ride his motorcycle to rehearsal. Walk in, plug in, play, and his bass playing's exactly what I love. And he would play. We'd have some beers, and then, okay, I gotta get going. When do you need me at the show? Load in is this time. Sound check, and then. Okay, cool. See you there. Make sure I have some tequila. Okay. He was like Dino. I want some tequila, and I want some Coronas. Okay. And then I would get there. I go, they don't have Coronas here. They have Dos Equis. I'll take Dos Equis, whatever. And some Patron. So then I would bring them shots of Patron, and that's you know, never asked me for a dime.
That's love of the game right there, dude.
That is really
cool, so that's my experience with like someone like him. So I'm fine with him doing Static X.
Yeah.
My experience with Dino was exactly the same. Other people have different stories about Dino, but then I have to think, well, what was your part of this downfall?
Yeah.
Like what was the other guys in Fear Factory's part in the downfall? It can't all be blamed on one guy, because I know that guy. I've known that guy 30-something years. And I don't have a problem with him. I've never had a problem with him. And, you know.
Well, there's drama in this business, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We know that. We know that a lot of musicians don't always get along. You know what I mean? There's drama within the bands. There's drama between the bands. You know what I mean? It happens. That's just something that a lot of people don't really think about it, but that happens a lot. I mean, you think about Dino, and he had a side project with Tommy, who's now doing really well. You know, but they had their differences. You know,
they had their differences.
I'm not going to go into details about that, and I don't know much about it, but we know.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their things, and it's usually big personalities, which is what you want for a band. You want everybody to have a big personality to be out there, but then those personalities clash. You know.
Yeah.
But I've always thought of a band as a gang. blood in, blood out. You know, you come in and you're in. If you're out, you're fucking out.
Yeah.
And I used to have contracts for my band guys that were like, you know, if you leave the band, you get fired. Everything gets any writing, any publishing, anything you're giving up.
Yeah, we did that.
Or don't sign it. You know, don't come in the band unless you sign it, because if I fire you, I don't want any kind of involvement with you anymore.
Yeah.
You know? If you leave on good terms, like my guitar player Robin, when he left, he's the one who started the band with me, and I said, "You'll always be part of the band. Anytime you come back, you're back." And it was a good term kind of thing, and I still worked on songs with him from afar, you know, because he was in Iowa when he left, and he went and got married and had a kid, and I understood that because I did that. But he did it the right way. When he decided to leave, he goes, "Listen, in 3 months, I'm moving to Iowa. So I'm starting to look for a job out there right now. I'm going to move back in with Jess. We're going to start a family and da-da-da-da-da." Okay, cool. But I'm looking for some guitar players to replace me. Now I have these two guys. I think one's going to be fantastic. The other one, good player, but I don't know if he'll fit in, but I'll bring them to you. And one of them did fit in fantastic. And I think we played a show with you guys in that place in, what was that place? In Pomona. Didn't we play like a place that used to be a bank in Pomona?
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a guitar player with dreadlocks.
Wasn't it called the Vault?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
the Vault, because it used to be a bank. And the guitar player was my old guitar player, Robin, brought him. He goes, "Hi, this is going to be your new guitar player. He'll be perfect for you." And, you know, he has a great look, great sound, perfect. And he played with us for a long time, for at least a year, before I literally broke up the band and then, you know, went on hiatus for a little bit. But that's the way to do it. You know, I'm leaving the band, so let me try to help you find somebody to take my place, or I'm going to give you this much time, you know,
Right.
Not like I'm leaving tomorrow, bye, I'm out.
Yeah.
It's more of like, listen, I'm not happy here. Let's finish off these next 3 or 4 shows, give you time to find somebody new, and then I'm going to be out.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
easy.
it doesn't have to be like breaking up a relationship with a crazy girlfriend every time you leave a band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it doesn't. Not at
You
all.
know, and I'm good friends with a lot of people that used to be in the band.
That's awesome, dude. And you know, to be honest with you, I've got friends too that used to be in bands with me. Lonnie played with us for a little while, but like I said, it just wasn't. It didn't make sense. With
Yeah.
what we wanted to do and what he wanted to do, which is fine. But we're still friends. I love that guy. You know what I mean? He's an awesome dude and a great drummer. So sometimes it works out in a positive way, and that's awesome. And I know, and sometimes it doesn't, and that sucks. But what can you do? That's life. This is the life we get.
Yep.
You know, we got to make the best of it. You know. So
Exactly.
I have a few questions for you though, bro. Before we wrap this up, I have a few questions. So I want to get them out there before I forget them. So I'm gonna ask you all three, and hopefully you just can knock them all out one after the other. What's next for SkumLove, the band? Are you know what's happening there? 2, I want to know what your thoughts are on the industrial rock scene. Or industrial metal scene, whatever you want to call it. And is there a possible resurgence coming? And if so, what does that mean for SkumLove? And also my last question is, what advice do you have for bands that are just trying to get out there? Right now, COVID has everybody on lockdown.
Yeah.
So we know nothing's happening as far as live shows and touring, not really. But once maybe this passes, or we can get to a point where we're working again, what would your advice be to a band that's trying to break new ground?
Yeah. Okay. Let's start. First question. We're kind of sitting and waiting to see what's going to go down. But now that I got the new studio built over here, you know, like I said, it's just garage band. I'm just fucking plugging in, putting some ideas together, and then emailing them to my guitar player and to the other guys in the band, Francisco, our drummer, you know, and then seeing what comes out of it, and playing it by ear, man. I have a lot of people like, dude, you guys should do a virtual show and stuff like that. But, you know, I don't want to, for me, doing a show is like a therapy session for me. You know, I'm more Alice Cooper than anything else. I have dancers on stage and backup singers and lots of lights and stuff going on. Right.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a theatrics kind of thing. And I feed off the crowd, you know, the way I sing, I feed off the crowd, and the way I move, the way I perform. If the crowd's a very responsive crowd, I'm going to be insane on stage. If the crowd's not very responsive and they're not up in front, I'm going to give you a sloppy, kind of a mellow show.
Yeah.
So I don't see how I can do that in front of a camera without trying to fake it, or, you know what I mean?
No.
And I don't want that. I can't do that. That's just not me. So even when people have asked us, I just said, nah, it's fine. I've been writing songs. And recently a lot more, because it's just starting to hit me. Because during this quarantine, I mean, I went through a little bit of depression. I got on some antidepressants, and I'm not a depressive person. I don't have that in me. I'm always a happy guy. You know me. I'm always happy. I'm always positive. I'm running around and trying to keep everybody else happy. And I'm a social butterfly. I'm always out talking to people and being part of something. So not being part of that really kind of depressed me. So for a while there, I wasn't writing or doing anything. I was just making the masks and going to work and taking care of the family. And then I got on my antidepressants and I feel better, and songs are now starting to flow out of me. So starting to write. I got some different producers and people that want to, like I was mentioning, Toddy from Dead Girls Corp. They just finished their album, so he wants to record some stuff with me. Bill Matoyer wants to record some stuff with me. You know, I got a few different people that just want to, hey, come down here. Let's just record. I don't care about money. Let's just do this because I want to see what you bring to the table, you know? And I'm like, okay.
What a cool position to be in, though, dude.
Yeah, that is really cool, man.
Yeah. And for me right now, I'm not going to look for another label. Fuck labels. Because after I got off of EMP, I never made any money from them. And I'm sure they made no money off of me. So it was kind of, you know, pretty apparent. But as soon as I got the album back, I put it up like a week later, resubmitted it on my own label stuff. And all of a sudden I got like checks from you know, doing that from like Spotify and iTunes, where I was like, I'm actually getting a lot more plays now doing it on my own somehow and making money.
Yeah, then why would you need a label if you're already doing it that way?
Yeah. I mean, it's not
sense?
like I'm getting a check for $1,000, like $5,000. I'm getting a check for $50,
right?
You know, and then $100 and, you know, $25 or whatever it is.
It's still money.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So I'm actually getting something, and that was just from the first month of putting it up. You know what I mean? Resubmitting the album, and I go through DistroKid and I just do it myself. Because at this point, I'm 47, and I've been in this business a long time. So I'm just going to do what I need to do for myself. It's now a pleasure project kind of thing, a passion project. I'll play shows when it's needed. You know, go out there, and my shows that I do it to get other bands to play with me that need that extra break. Like that's why I'll do a show at the Whiskey, and then put some local bands on that don't pay to play. You know me, I hate doing pay to play.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I can go through it without making somebody sell tickets, and you just promote the fuck out of yourselves, and like I said, 5 people in a band, each of them bring 5 people, you're going to have a great show.
Right.
So if everybody can do that, we can sell out the Whiskey on local show. So that's what I do to help the scene. I do my rockaholic stuff, you know, do that. But, you know, so for SkumLove, it's just, I'm going to write music for myself and put out a song here and there. I don't think I'll ever do an album again. I think I just put out 1 or 2 songs now and then, and be happy doing that. And if someone else enjoys listening to them, they can listen to them, and if they don't have to, and I get to listen to them. I still play my own album and listen to it because I wrote my music for me, first and foremost. I didn't write to go, will this kid like this? Is this the direction the music is going? Is this the cool thing to do? Never have I ever thought that way.
Yeah.
And some people go, oh, your music's a little dated. I don't give a fuck. This is what I like, so I play it. I don't think I'm a metal band. I don't think I'm an industrial band. I have elements of that. I just think I'm a rock and roll band.
Right.
I play rock and roll.
That pretty much answers my question about the industrial sound, because I always kind of felt like you guys had a pretty solid industrial flavor to your music.
Yeah, I mean, we always get lumped into that. Like our last tour we did was with Combi Christ. You know, we did some West Coast shows with Combi Christ, and that was right after my guitar player died. Literally the day after my guitar player died.
God damn.
In Vegas. Oh, wow. And played with Combi Christ, and that was a weird time, because we watched him die for 5 months in the hospital, and then the day he passed away, I raced to the hospital and caught him after his last breath, and had to do a funeral for him and all this shit, and it was just like, so, you know, it was like the next day we were driving to, I mean, we knew we were doing the show without him, without Garrison, our second guitar player, but you know, it was a hard thing to do, but it was very surreal, because as soon as we got into Vegas, I got giggly like a schoolgirl and laughing, and a huge thing of happiness came over me. And I was like, I shouldn't be happy right now. My guitar player just died. My best friend just died, you know, kind of thing. And but we did the show for him. We did the shows that we did with Combi Christ for him. We got a great response from Combi Christ. You know, they're a full-on industrial band. Right. It's like when we play with Ministry, you get a full. So I guess you can call us industrial. I just call us rock band with keyboards. We're like AC/DC with keyboards. You know? And you know, our riffs are really punk rock, old school punk rock, 3-chord riffs with 4 on the floor drums, and then we pepper it with a lot of sound effects and keyboards, you know. But I guess that's what industrial is these days. So for me, I guess, you know, it's a cool thing. I'm seeing a lot of that starting to come back around. It's less in the goth vein and more in the rock vein, I think, or even electronic vein. You know,
because EDM's making a huge push right now.
Yeah, I mean, so, I don't know if you listen to Sirius or not. Do you listen to Sirius?
No, I don't listen to a lot of Sirius. I try not to listen to. It's funny. I try not to listen to music much at all.
How come?
I listen to it at work when I'm at work in my office. Besides that, I come home and watch movies with my wife. In the car, I listen to NPR. You know, I'm an old man. I like to listen to what's going on in the world.
Well, that's cool, brother. I just was curious if you thought that was going to be something, some kind of emergence, or.
Try that again, Ralphie.
Broke up again.
Are we having technical difficulties?
Nah, you're good. You just broke up again, brother.
You turned into an industrial robot.
There you go. Perfect timing.
And now I'm not going to cut it out. That works.
Yeah, I just wonder. Exactly. I just wonder.
Vocals right there.
There you go, man. You got to make the best of it, right? No, I was just wondering if you thought there was going to be a resurgence in the industrial music scene, because I know trends come and go, you know, and they come back around. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel, I listen to Octane. I listen to a lot of different stations on Sirius XM, but I listen to Octane a lot because they're playing what they call active rock stuff. Yeah. And so, and that's like the newer metal that's coming out, newer rock, hard rock. And a lot of it has samples and that vibe, that industrial flavor to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess EDM is a part of it, but I think EDM is kind of like really related.
Yeah.
With industrial.
Well, I'm just saying that with EDM making such a push in the popular realm, I could see where industrial might start making a pushback, because that's just by nature that style might be pulled up a little bit more.
Well,
you know?
Well, I've also noticed. Go ahead.
I have like DJ Ashba, for instance, who was in Guns N' Roses. He's one of my artists at Schecter, and he tells me like right now he's working with a lot of DJs, like EDM DJs and stuff. So he's putting some guitar and rock back into that, kind of getting together, melding with
Right.
that.
He released a couple tracks just recently doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's doing that. We have another guy named Sullivan King, who's a DJ who ends up he's actually a really great guitar player. And so we endorse him, and he does the big raves, you know, the big fucking 20,000 person raves, and he'll get his DJ shit going and get the beats going. Then he picks up his guitar and jumps out in the front and fucking does these crazy solos and stuff. His name's Sullivan King. Look him up. It's crazy. And he'll fucking rock it out. And he has a little box on the side of his guitar, so he can still change tracks while he's playing.
Really?
You know?
That's tight.
And he's rocking out. So that's kind of, I think, the direction it's going. You know, people are they're going to bring elements of that back into electronic music. Besides that, I mean, really rock in general is kind of a watered down version of industrial rock these days. You know, a lot of bands use samples and electronics and, you know.
Yeah. Those really tight stop times where it's literally produced stop time rather than band stop times.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, but there is, you know, like Ministry was about to put out, you know, a show with KMFDM and all that, a big festival kind of thing, tour, and, you know, got put on hold because of COVID. But I mean, that was doing really well numbers wise before it got canceled. So, I mean, I think right now, we're in that bubble of no one knows what's going on, so everything's going on. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, the whole, you know, you see a lot of the new metal, like the hip hop metal, coming back out of the blue. You see, you know, a lot of hip hoppers, you know, starting to bring the rock and guitar back into it. People put the guitar away for a little bit, and now they're missing it.
Yeah.
Like Schecter guitars, where, you know, this has been amazing for us. This year has actually been an amazing year because people are bored at home and they're like, what do I do? I'm going to learn how to play guitar. And they're all buying guitars. So I want to see what happens 2021, 2022 with all these people who are taking online lessons, playing guitars, that bought all these guitars. Are they going to bring a new element of music? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I never thought
Let's
of
see
that.
what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I know if we're selling the most guitars that we've ever sold, all the other companies are doing it too.
Right.
So I'm waiting for that resurgence of rock that's going to come out. But yet everyone has the home studio.
Right.
And they're putting electronic drums to it, and they're putting, you know, keyboards to it. And then, so let's see what's going to come out of that. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Quarantine core, COVID core. It'll be a new style of metal.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. It's like, hey, Dorian. Dorian, you over there? My son was just here. He's 16. Hey, Dor. What's that guy who's on my who's on Schecter? The rap dude.
Oh, the rock guy, Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, like Machine Gun Kelly.
Right.
Now.
Yeah.
You know, he's with Schecter, and he's a rap guy. You know, he plays rap. He's hip hop, and he's bringing the guitar back into everything. Every photo is him with his pink Schecter, and he's playing it. He actually does play. You know, and Machine Gun Kelly's bringing that new thing to it. You know.
So you think we might be getting a new hybrid of rap and rock? You think something like that might be coming back up?
I think there's a lot of that happening. I'm seeing it a lot.
Yeah.
I think pop as well, man. Have you guys heard the song with Ozzy and Post Malone? I mean,
And my son just said, he goes, Ian Dior does that too, mixes hip hop and rock.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
I mean, a lot of that's coming. A lot of people are like, because for a while there, it was just electronic. Like the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years, it got really electronic. And then the rock stuff was put on the back burner. Now the rock's coming back in. And it's slowly coming back in, but in a different form. And all you can do is be happy with it. You know, it's like when a band like the Struts comes back and you're like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. They're playing rock and roll. And, you know, even my brain's not thinking, what's the band that kind of everyone goes, oh dude, they're like young kids that are playing Led Zeppelin.
Talking about the band that sounds just like them.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin.
But
yeah, what's their name again?
I'm trying to remember.
I'm drawing a blank on that one too.
Yeah, my brain just blew it. Anyway, but I mean, bands like that, I don't care if they sound like them. They're bringing rock back somehow and introducing it. You know, it's like my son's really into hip hop, but lately, like he came out and he goes, do you have any stuff, Hall & Oates stuff? I was just listening to some Hall & Oates and I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, here, let me show you this. And then he'll come out and say, hey, do you, AC/DC or something like that? Yeah, here, let me show it to you. So there's a going through dad's vinyl collection again, but it's going through dad's Spotify, playlist these days. And so I think it's coming back around, but that's all what industrial really turned out to be, is electronic music with guitars.
Right.
So I think it's just a hybrid of everything right now. There's really, genres are getting less and less.
Right.
And so you're getting less and less, because the names of genres, the metal core, the pop this, that, pop core, and whatever the fuck. I'm old. I it's fuck off.
We're running out of niches, guys. We're running out of niches to call it.
Yeah. Stop calling it core.
It's music.
There's no core to it. It sounds like fucking, in sync with heavy guitars.
Yeah.
There's no core to it. Let's just music.
Yeah.
Let's just music, because I'm listening to a lot of stuff that is not metal whatsoever. Like me, my favorite bands from back in the day, and my favorite bands is going to be The Damned, Killing Joke, Faith No More, bands like that, Monster Magnet. Those 4 bands all sound different.
Yeah.
But haven't heard one bad album yet. Sweet from the 70s. From there, then, goes into a million things. But those 4 bands right there, because people always ask me, what's your top 5 bands? I could always count those 4. And then my 5th, I don't know.
It's a wild card.
Yeah. So maybe I just throw SkumLove as my 5th favorite band. I don't know.
Well, there you go.
That should be. That absolutely should be. You work your ass off on it. Yeah.
It probably is.
If you think about it in those perspectives, but the reason those bands are who they are is because they said, fuck off, we don't need a genre.
Yeah.
Killing Joke has been called post-punk, industrial metal, goth metal, whatever, and they just play what they want. If you don't know Killing Joke, you can listen to their older albums, and they're very 80s kind of stuff, but heavy. And you listen to an album now, it's full-on industrial metal. It's metal. It's heavier than shit. And these guys are in their 60s and 70s.
Right.
What are you doing, dog? So
your dog is interrupting.
Let me let my dog out.
Yeah, no worries.
Here, come on,
for the listeners at home, the band we were thinking of is Greta Van Fleet. Greta Van Fleet.
Greta Van
yeah,
Fleet.
but like,
good band. Don't get me wrong.
No, they are, but they are doing Zeppelin.
Yeah.
So bands, so I mean, they're doing things. So you got like, Killing Joke is a perfect example. They just said, fuck off, we do what we want. The Damned, everyone talks about the Ramones and Sex Pistols being the first. The Damned was the first to put out an album, a punk album. Yeah. They were the very first. And their sound isn't all punk. Every album is different from each other. Every band member is different from each other. The singer looks like a vampire, and the guitar player looks like some crazy old school punk guy, and everybody looks different in the band, and their sound is all. If you listen to some Damned, I always tell people, just go to Spotify. That's what I love about Spotify. Go to Spotify, find the Damned, hit just random. You'll find a different song every time. It's not the same style. They're not an AC/DC.
Yeah.
Same thing with Faith No More. Go to Faith No More, hit random on there. Every song's going to be different, not the same style.
And that's a rough road to take.
Yeah.
Because Iron Maiden, I mean, I love them, but they literally play in E minor. That's pretty much all they do. It's the same shit, every different song, just changed a little bit. It's great, and I love it, but to have a different song, literally everything like that, that's a ballsy road, because that you gotta find your crew.
A lot of people in this business have actually, and I'm not even trying to say that my bands on any level, whether it was Serpent Underground or Ravenscroft, is doing something that's that eclectic, should I say, I guess it would be the word, right? But I have had people say to me, you know what, dude, I've heard this song and this song and this song, and they kind of worked with each other.
Yeah.
If there was a flow. And then I would listen to this song, and this song, and I'd be like, wow, those almost seem like they came from another band. I've had quite a few people tell me that, and they go, I don't know if that's a good thing, considering the music industry and how they work. And I think it might be right about that.
Yeah. Music industry likes monotony. They like things to be the same.
Tried and true.
Yep.
And it's just how it is. And as much shit as people go, AC/DC all sounds the same. Well, so does every pop band, and that's every pop band.
Yeah.
Every dance pop band have the same 8 producers. Like if you pull up a Beyonce album and you look up their biggest song, it'll list 8 different producers for that song.
Yeah.
And like 10 different writers. How are these people making money? Seriously, I don't understand. If you're paying 30 people for one song,
there's
what I mean?
A lot of money in pop. That's why.
Right? Apparently, more money than I imagined. But I look at for SkumLove. Those are my influences. Those are my favorite bands where you just do what you want to do.
Yeah. And
it doesn't matter. Like even a band like Monster Magnet, which are a rock band, stoner rock. They said, they were on a huge label. I toured with those guys. They just did what they fucking wanted to do. They just wanted to be in a rock band, They are the epitome of rock and roll. But then when rock kind of died in the U.S., they got dropped from their label. They weren't selling out shows anymore. And they said, you know what? Fuck this. You know what? You know where rock is big? Europe. We're only going to release albums in Europe and just do fucking tours in Europe. And we'll be big. Like, I'll tell you a story. When I went out with Fear Factory, Monster Magnet, and Rob Zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Zombie's first solo tour. Played hockey arenas and big arenas, things like that. Great shows. Fear Factory was on par with Rob on selling merch, because I was the merch guy. Monster Magnet was doing great. So they said, this was such a successful tour, we want to bring it to Europe. Well, Zombie really never went to Europe. White Zombie never went to Europe. I think they played a couple shows. That was it. So they never had a following out there. But who did? Monster Magnet. So they had the same management company. So they said, okay, so we're going to have Monster Magnet headline, Rob and Fear Factory second, and Rob Zombie first, because you've never been out there. And Rob Zombie's like, fuck that. No, I ain't going to play first. Either I headline or not, but you're not a headliner yet out there. Monster Magnet is, and so is Fear Factory. So then that tour never happened. But it's a different world over there. They still listen to rock and roll over there,
Yeah.
You got, like Turbo Negro and bands like that are just fucking just badass, straightforward rock and roll. You listen to, you look up European, even like Norwegian rock and roll bands, you're going to find dirty AC/DC rock and roll bands that are badass. And it's like, it's still huge out there. Still big thing out there.
Those guys are crazy about the music scene still. They still buy
Yeah.
CDs, they buy, vinyl still, they buy a lot of t-shirts, they take their favorite bands out to dinner. They really support the music industry for sure. But you know what? I still think that every band should try to tour Europe, in my opinion.
Yeah. They should.
Yeah.
I think no matter what, even if you don't have a lot of success out there when you go, I think you should still try it. I think it's
that's how you get the success out there.
Exactly.
But don't go out there thinking just because you're a big man out here in the U.S., you're going to be a big band in Europe if you've never played there before, because that's a big thing. You have to be able to go there, play the small gigs, do the shit shows. It's like doing the shit shows here where you get in a van and drive around. And then the next time you go out there, you'll be big, or play the festival circuit, like bands like Body Count's a great, example. They came back heavier and harder. When someone goes, what's the best metal band in the last 10 years? I go, one that was a resurgent. Oh, what? Slayer? No. Fucking Body Count. Body Count came back out and did the heaviest fucking most metal album out there. And then they did a second one after that. That was big and bad. Well, whatever, they're sixth. But you know what I mean? From the resurgence. And the last one was even just as fast and heavy and hardcore, And it's like that right there. They just went out and did whatever the fuck they wanted to do. And then instead of touring like a regular touring band, they did festival tours. And they kicked ass, And I'm in contact with those guys all the time, and it's they're just loving what they're doing. They're successful at it. And Ice is an old guy, so he's just like, man, I just want to fucking play. I don't give a fuck. And he does it, and he's having a great time doing it. You know what I mean?
And that's what it's all about, brother.
100%.
Exactly.
Well, what I'd like to close with is, Skummy, I'd like to ask you to let our fans know, the people that are watching this video, where they can find your music and where they can find your merch and whatever else that you're doing. If you're going to be doing Devil's Union or masks, where can they find you? What's the best way to?
You can just find me on Facebook, Instagram, all this stuff. Just look up SkumLove, SkumLove. To find my personal profile, it's just Skum, first name, last name, Love, on Facebook. I have my masks on a Facebook page called Masks by Love. Devil's Union we're rebranding it and redoing it right now. But if you look up, I think devilsunion.com, it should go to my wife's Etsy site. Yeah, it's just, and then I think you find the Devil's Union on her actual site, Stark Graving with a G, starkgravingmad.com, or look up in Etsy, Stark Graving Mad, and you'll find her art and merch there. SkumLove, SkumLove.com, SkumLove. It takes you to everywhere SkumLove. I still have an actual .com. Most people don't. I said it'll come back around. When everything else dies, you're gonna have that. It's like having a bicycle. Fucking all the electronics shit goes down. When the meteor hits, I'll still be able to ride my bike.
And you trust me, people, you will not have trouble finding Skummy. He really is undeniably a legend, dude. I know you don't want to believe it. I know, but he really has been, man. Skummy goes back way back. He's awesome.
Skummy is the man. Thank you for being on, Skummy. We appreciate your time, brother. And thank you for all the great stories and the great advice that you've given for musicians. I think a lot of people can learn a lot from your career. You know what I mean?
100%.
That's why we're doing this show, basically, to kind of help people out and go, hey, you know what? We're stuck in this situation with the COVID and everybody's on lockdown, but you know what? We can still have good conversations with good people, and in and out, whether behind the scenes or in the forefront of the music industry. And that's what we're trying to do. So it was great having you on, man.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, man, no problem. Glad you guys are doing it. People keep asking me to do a podcast. I'm like, I don't have the
You
time.
really should.
I literally have a full-time job and doing all my other stuff, and I got a family. I don't have time to do podcasts, and I used to do it way before it was called podcast. So I'm glad you guys are doing it. So thanks, you.
Brother.
And, keep doing it.
You have an open door policy, Skummy. We will be here whenever you want to come back on. If you have time, anything and everything, brother. And I need to do a little business because Ralph, lean back. Since we were talking about merch, if you guys want to support the podcast, check out Ralphie. Check out Ralphie. Yes, it is official. We have our first official logo T-shirt. There you go, Skummy. If you want to support the show, give a shout out. Be a little bit of a walking billboard. Tell people about how awesome we are. Any of that. Check it out. Links are in the description below. Skummy's links are in the description below. Support him. Support us. Support art. Support music. Support it all. I love you guys, man. Thank you, Skummy.
Stay safe, guys.
Stay safe.
Take care, guys. Peace out.
Later. Peace.